Hi everyone. This is a very impromptu, extremely lo-fi video that's the idea has been in my head for a couple of weeks and I can't find my phone holder with a ring light attached to it that I had since I moved to New Zealand, and as you can see, there is still stuff in boxes. This is unscripted, as always, as all my videos have always been unscripted. But anyway, today's video is I wanted to show you my Siddur collection. Now, a Siddur, for people who don't know, is a Jewish prayer book. There are loads of them, depending on your denomination, depending on your background, etc. I have a small collection of them, and it's growing because I personally find it quite interesting to refer to different Siddur, or SIDDURIM, as the plural would be. But anyway, I thought I would maybe show you some of the ones I have and go from there. And I'll try not to say too much, but I make no promises. Okay, so I have four. The first one is this Koran Siddur. This is quite a traditional Orthodox Siddur. So Orthodox is a branch of Judaism that's quite traditional, very conservative, and doesn't change all that much, or at least it does, but very slowly. I could probably make an entire video on different denominations. This is not what this one's about. So this is my Koran, which is my Orthodox Siddur. I use this quite a lot in the mornings generally because it's small and compact. As you can see, it's very easy to kind of carry around, and it's very nice and laid out. It has some very good commentary in it by Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, who is no longer with us. So my next one is my British Reform Siddur. So this one is the I think it's Seder Hatafilot, I think. So this is the one that Reform congregations in the UK use generally. So this was probably these two were the first Siddurim I ever got. They were gifted to me by a friend who didn't need them anymore, and so when I was during COVID and I was watching services online, this was the one that I used all the time, and I still refer to it because there are some really nice prayers and artwork in here that I really enjoy. And I'm gonna give you a look inside this Siddurim and yeah, as we go along. Next one is my newest one, actually. This is Mishkan Tafila, where pride dwells. So this is one that's made by the Central Conference of American Rabbis, which is the American Reform kind of rabbi, sort of rabbinical association, I guess. They publish and do all kinds of stuff. But this one's specifically for LGBTQ Jewish people, and it has a lot of liturgy and prayers and poetry, specifically geared towards kind of LGBTQ kind of life events, things of that nature. And also just a few different ways of kind of thinking about and interpreting this kind of traditional prayers and liturgy, which is why I bought it. And it's beautiful. It has, again, beautiful poetry inside, and I really enjoy it. It's a great Siddur. And finally, last but not least, is Mishkan Tafila. This is the World Union edition. So this is slightly different from the American one, because it's aimed at congregations more outside of a reform and progressive congregations kind of outside of the US. But this is one we use at the shul or synagogue that I go to here in Auckland. And again, it has some beautiful poetry and prayers and thoughts in it. And so yeah, this is the one that I use mainly for Shabbat, but I have referred to it for other things as well. So each one of these has their differences, even between these two different Reform SIDDURIM. There are definitely differences, and there are differences between, this and this, even as, not only in the interpretation, the English interpretation of the Hebrew, but actually there are little differences in the Hebrew itself. Which is why I like collecting these things, because it's very interesting to see how the liturgy changes between denominations. So, as I said, this is the one I use pretty much every morning for Shacharit, which is like the morning prayers. And it's very, it's pretty much the first set of prayers you come to, so it's very logically laid out in how you would do it and how you would use it, which is great, and it's one thing I really like about this prayer book. So, one of the first kind of prayers that you would say on waking, and this is like as soon as you wake up, which I don't need the book for this, I say it off by heart every morning, is Modeh ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam shechezarta bi nishmati bechemla rabba emunetecha. And so the translation for this is, I thank you, living and eternal King, for giving me back my soul in mercy. Great is your faithfulness. And this is kind of a prayer of gratitude at the minute you wake up, and also comes from the kind of belief that while you're asleep, your soul goes elsewhere and then is returned back to you upon awakening, is the traditional belief. And then after that, you would go on to the hand washing prayer, and then Ashayatsar, which is quite possibly one of my most favoritist prayers. And it goes as following: Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher yatzar et ha'adam bechokhmah uvara vo nekavim chalalim chalalim galui v'yadua lifnei chisei chavodecha she'im yipateach ehad mechem o yisatem echad mehem אי אפשר להתקיים ולעמוד לפניך. ברוך אתה אדוני רופא כל בשר ומפליא לעשות. Yeah, by the way, if you are like quite traditionally Jewish, I as you hear, I will say Adonai rather than, or if the other word that gets used a lot, I will probably end up not saying Elokeinu, so if that's a bother, no worries, just click off, it's all good. But yeah, so that particular prayer is, if you can see, I don't know how well you can see this, that particular prayer is about sort of the functioning of the body. And it's said in the morning. Really Orthodox Jews will say it once they've been to the loo, and I don't personally. But I love that prayer for all kinds of reasons. And there's a really beautiful interpretation of that actually in Mishkan Tafila. And I'll be honest, the reason why I don't use this as my everyday is because it is so big and unwieldy. Like, this is a thick siddur, this is big. And to stand and hold this and daven, which is a Yiddish word which means to pray, it's, yeah, so I use the little one because that's just easier as much as anything, and also it's laid out in a way that makes sense to me. Anyway, I'm rambling, and as ASMR, is it Ginny B or Ginny B ASMR? She calls it a blah blah blah, and I love her videos, by the way. She's wonderful. But anyway, one of the not so traditional ways that Mishkan Tafila has this interpreted is, my God, I thank you for my life, my body and my soul, for my name, my gender, my way of thinking and speaking. Help me realize that I am something new, someone who never existed before, someone original and unique in the world. For if there ever had been someone quite like me, there would be no need for me to exist. Baruch atah Adonai rofei chol basar umafli la'asot. So, you know, whereas the traditional one is like, we have all these tubes, and if one of them was to be wrongly blocked or closed, we could not stand before you. You know, that's a kind of a more modern interpretation that speaks to gender as much as the physical body as well, and it's a wonderful interpretation. I'm pretty sure there's a similar one in Mishkan Gava actually. And fun fact, the editor of this particular book, Rabbi Denise L. Ager, I think how you pronounce her name, is my rabbi's rabbi. So there you go. And I didn't know that before I ordered this. And when I mentioned to my rabbi that I was going to order this, and he was like, "Oh, that's my rabbi," and I was like, "No way!" So yeah, so that was really cool. So let me find, because this one has all the Shabbat and Kabbalat Shabbat stuff first, and so this is an Ashayatsar. This is a bit longer than the other one, but it's great. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. It is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly opened or closed, it would be impossible to endure and stand before you. May the day come when it is also well known that if just one unique body within your creation is not allowed to make its distinctive beauty manifest in the world, it is impossible for all of your creation to thrive and rise each day joyfully before you. Blessed are you, source of all life and form, who implanted within us the ability to form ourselves, moulding, changing, transitioning, and adorning our bodies, so that the fullness of our many genders, the abundance of our desires, and the diversity of our soul can be revealed. Isn't that beautiful? That's a beautiful piece of liturgy and poetry, in my opinion. And underneath it says, Barucha atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Ashayatsar Yatzra et b'nei uvnot Adam v'chava b'chochma Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, who has made me your partner in the daily completing in the task of my own formation. Isn't that beautiful? That's lovely. And that's by Rabbi Eliot Kukla and was written in 2012. So you can see why I like this book. I like this Siddur. This is lovely. And there's all kinds of things. There's blessings for non-binary Jews, and there's blessings for parents who have gay and transgender children. A prayer for not yet coming out. There's blessings for even after making love. Struggles in a relationship. A blessing before putting up a queer bumper sticker, flag, poster, or other symbol of queer visibility. I love that. I think that's great. Yeah, so this one has all kinds of really beautiful. Look, I mean, a prayer for after my child has come out, for example. That's, so this is why I bought this, essentially. I'm I very much fall into the category of people that this is for, for LGBTQ Jews, and this is a beautiful book, and I still haven't read through all of it, but it's lovely. I'm a big fan. What the heck do I don't even know what I have bookmarked. It's actually been a really long time since I've looked at okay, I had bookmarked Mishaberach prayers, which is prayers for healing. So yeah, this one is this is a really good Untitled Tafila is a really good prayer book. Actually, it's lovely. Apparently this is its 8th edition, and was published in 2008 or in 5768 in the Jewish calendar. But yeah, this starts with morning prayers as well, which again makes a lot of sense to me, because you're waking up, those are the first bits you want to get to, and then has different different services and liturgy listed. But then the pages in this are a lot thinner than in my other SIDDURIM. This is the thinnest paper, which is probably why it's a lot slimmer than my other ones, but is still jam-packed with stuff. Let's see. It has different psalms for different days of the week. I did not realise that, actually. Like I said, it's been a while, and I mostly only use this for Shabbat services on like a Saturday morning, because I wasn't able to go to any services in person at the time when I started going to watching online services. This is a synagogue in Leeds when I lived in the UK still. So yeah, it's got like Chatzi Kaddish, Shema. The Shema is like one of the most central prayers in Judaism. Like if you do nothing else, you should say Shema twice a day if you're Jewish. Like, I mean, you know, that's like the most. If you do nothing else, do that one, and it covers everything. And it's such a lovely prayer. Actually, I really enjoy it. And saying Ve'ahavta afterwards. I feel like you're just kind of watching me flick through this at the moment. But look, I mean, the artwork in this one is really cool. I'm not holding this up very well. I apologise. Like, the artwork in this is just, it's so nice. And out of all the Siddurim I have, this has my favourite artwork by far, but there's one that I've spotted, which is a weekday Siddur. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's published by Eisen Books, that has some really beautiful, it's more kind of Sephardic, Mizrahi inspired artwork in it. Beautiful artwork, and has options for non-binary language in it, and I want to get it for exactly that reason. And it just looks like a really beautiful Siddur, and who doesn't love having beautiful things that are meaningful and useful? So the Amidah, which is the standing prayer. You stand while you say, I say prayer, it's a series of prayers, but you stand while you say them. Weekday Torah service, Shabbat morning service. This actually does have a song or a prayer in Ladino in it, this British one. Ladino is a Sephardic Jewish language. So most people will be very familiar with Yiddish, which comes from like Central Europe, and is a Germanic language. It's based on, I want to say, I think it's Low German. I think an earlier dialect of like Low German, with Hebrew mixed in essentially, and Ladino is based on I'm guessing an older form of Spanish, but also with Hebrew influences, basically. So that's Ladino. Not as well known as Yiddish, but there's a definite push to revive it and include it in the sort of lingua francas of the diaspora. I will say that, so the layout, that this is Psalm 150. Again, I love this. This is the transliteration down here. This is the Hebrew, and obviously that's the English. One thing I will say that the Mishkan Tafila does extremely well is the way it lays that out. Pretty much most progressive Siddurs will have an English and then an English transliteration of the Hebrew, whereas an Orthodox one, like this, is a Hebrew English only, so this has no transliteration, and is also a big part of why I choose to use it a lot, because it forces me to read the Hebrew, whereas if I'm given transliteration, I will totally just go and use that. But the Orthodox one forces me to use the Hebrew. At some point I will get a Siddur just only in Hebrew when I feel more comfortable with translations and like knowing what words mean more. I'm still learning a lot about that stuff. So yeah, there are some things that are laid out beautifully. So yeah, verses of song. And yeah, each one does it a little differently. So, and also there are differences between, although Shabbat services are roughly the same, there are differences in how each denomination will do it. So there are definitely differences between the British Reform and the kind of progressive here in Auckland. Yeah, so I guess here I will fully preface this by saying I've never been to a UK liberal service, so I don't know how similar they are, but I'm guessing the progressive services here are kind of a mix of what British and liberal Judaism, like British Reform and liberal Judaism, is kind of, but it's still quite traditional in its liturgy. A lot of stuff is in Hebrew and, you know, some stuff's in English. But anyway, so let me find Shabbat morning. I'm trying to find you a page that's nice and clear. Okay, Matzovu. Everybody knows Matzovu. I'm sorry, the lighting's probably not super great. So Hebrew, transliteration, English. So that it's laid out a bit differently. For me, it makes a lot more sense to stick the transliteration across from the Hebrew. Oops, sorry. So yeah, and there are some different prayers across each book. Some will have some prayers, some won't, or they'll have some kind of variation. So for example, Nisim B'chol Yom, which is like the daily miracles prayer. Nisim B'chol Yom is different and by different I mean each, like, it's ordered differently, and there are one or two things that are in here that aren't in here, for example. So, pardon me. So in a traditional Orthodox daily miracles prayer, there is, how you feel about this is entirely up to you. There is one of them is, thank God who made me a man, or who didn't make me a woman. And then for the women, it's who made me according to his will. Obviously a little problematic, let's be honest. Whereas in this one, it's B'Tselem Elohim, which is who's made me in the image of God. Basically. So it's much more kind of for everybody. I mean, again, I could talk about differences in how services are run in terms of how people are seated, etc. But that would get quite long, so I'm not going to do that. But anyway, so those are hopefully hopefully you found that interesting. A look at my various SIDDURIM and my collection as it is so far. I love collecting them. I will end up with a few more, no doubt. like I said, I get them for different reasons. Although I go to a progressive shul, you know, I use an Orthodox one for my daily prayers. As a side note, that prayer from Nisim B'chol Yom, I say both of them. I say both because I'm very happy to be a man. Don't get me wrong. As a trans person, I'm very happy to be a man. And which is not to say that being a woman is in any way bad or terrible or anything. But I also love, for me, saying, you know, who has made me according to his will. And that also has meaning for me as a trans person. So I actually end up saying both when I use this. But sometimes I go with Betzelem Elohim instead, if I'm a bit pressed for time, basically. So these are different Siddurim from across different denominations. As you can tell, they're all pretty much reform or progressive, bar the little one. And it's really hard to hold all of these at the same time. Yeah, so that's it. So I hope you found that interesting. As always, I've no idea when I'm going to post again. Possibly the next time I will post about my fountain pen collection, because I love fountain pens and inks. So if you'd be interested in that, let me know. Probably going to do it anyway at some point. And thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching. It's always really appreciated. I would love to know about any prayer books you have, or none at all. I'm just gonna delete any like atheists are great, love them. But if you come here with any kind of hardcore, like you're an idiot, blah blah blah, for being religious or any anti-Semitism, I'm just gonna delete it. Just you know, just gonna not even gonna bother. But anyway, have a lovely sleep if you're listening to this to get to sleep, or just background droning or whatever. And I will speak to you next time at some point. Oh, and Shana Tova, for anybody who is Jewish. I know that it's a bit late, but Shana Tova. And may you also have an easy and meaningful fast for Yom Kippur coming up. So yes, take care. Bye bye.